Robert, I want to pose a question for you, just to kind of get us all in the same headspace, which is um, in Meta, like the three primary interviews that they use, at least for most product managers, as you get to like senior leadership, there's additional kinds of ones. But for most people that interview at Meta, they'll run into three types: product sense, analytical thinking, and leadership and drive. Um, what makes the leadership and drive interview different, in your view, relative to the other ones? Like, what are the things that you think Meta is really trying to suss out in this interview?
Great question. I think it's because it's case, but well, it's real life case based, right? The other topics are really all hypotheticals. So they are about bringing your intellect to solve a problem, whether that's in product sense or analytical thinking. Whereas leadership and drive is really all about how you show up as a PM and as a PM leader. So it is personal. It's not hypothetical. It's about real things. You know, very early on, people learn, if you get asked, tell me about a time you resolved conflict. If you go into a here's my framework for resolving conflict. That's terrible, right? It's like, no, I want to hear about a real instance. We can all read a management textbook. We can all, we all know the classic playbook for conflict resolution, but when have you actually done it? So it is not really about a test of your problem solving skills where you're given a situation and asked to dive into it and to come up with ideas and solutions. It's really about you relating how you show up as a PM, and we'll talk more as we get into some of the detail about how to do that well. But it's not it's not what have you worked on. That's the other key thing. It's like if you end up explaining your projects in great detail and like the technical problems that you solved, you're not going to do well in leadership and drive. It is really about how you show up and the people and the organizational aspects of PMing rather than, solving a hard technical problem or doing amazing user discovery. We care a lot less about those things than as I say, I'll keep using the term how you show up. I'm sure Brian has good perspectives on this too.
Yeah, and Brian, before you go, just to kind of like check in. So I think what I'm hearing from you, Robert, is like as you think about the product sense interview, which is largely about your ability to take a very ambiguous prompt, like how would you improve, a certain product, or how would you build Google, a parking solution for Google Maps, or these which allow you to demonstrate like the skills of setting a mission statement for a product and explaining the rationale, the strategic rationale for it, and then doing segmentation and picking like problems for a chosen segment, and then coming through solutions, and then picking like narrowing in on a V1, which is very like product sense skills related, and then the analytical interview, which is all about your ability to measure success and kind of like gauge the health of an ecosystem through metrics. The mutual exclusive the signals that Meta is looking for in these interviews is mutually exclusive. So what's remaining after trying to evaluate those two interviews is basically how does this person show up as a leader? How do they motivate people? How do they deal with kind of like the personal side of this job, not like the hard skills or like the that
Absolutely.
part of the job?
And that mutually exclusive way, I think, is a great way for folks to think of it. If you find yourself doing product design or talking about the sort of analytical thinking topics in leadership and drive, a stop, because they are mutually exclusive. That's a really great way to think of it. And that applies to the other two as well, actually. So that's a really good framing, Ben. That's definitely how the Venn diagram looks. There's kind of no overlap.
Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it and just like
I
put
think
my
I stole
fingers
that
on
from
this.
you, actually, if I'm not mistaken. I think you kind of helped me find the words for the mutual exclusive signal. So maybe you get the credit there.
Robert would be. Uh,
No, Brian, I think you planted the mute because it's different than Google. We talked about how at Google there's some
totally.
overlap in the signals that they look for in these interviews. Where at Meta, it's almost like every interview is kind of looking for a very concrete set of signals that is not being evaluated in the other interviews.
That's exactly correct. So yeah, so I think, look, in a nutshell, like I totally agree with all the feedback that Robert just shared and what you said, Ben, as well. At the end of the day, leadership and drive interview, it's a retrospective behavioral interview. Inherently, it's subjective, right? So this is not about the quantitative, the methodical of analytical thinking or product sense, which isn't to say it doesn't have a methodical part of it because these answers have to be structured, they have to be rigorous, just like the PS or AT interviews. But as a behavioral retrospective interview, this is your chance to shine based on past performance being maybe not completely, but reliable indicator of future results, right? So they want to see how you express your leadership abilities during times of duress. And times of duress are like anytime you're shipping a product, there is, there is conflict between teams, conflict between individuals, conflict between rank and file and management, and leadership and drive, keyword being leadership. You are expected as an APM, as an L4 or ICPM, to be a leader. You are expected to lead the team and model behavior. And those are the signals that Meta is really super diving into and drilling down on.